My number one issue, you could say, with pot use is the fact that you're using an external substance, oftentimes far past the point at which you need it to find relief, in order to be like a permanent crutch of sorts, which then disables you to getting beyond it. So you'll notice that in my own practice, what I will do is very rarely, if ever, will I tell somebody that it's even remotely a good idea to go near any kind of spiritual medicine, you would basically say. Because the whole point of your spiritual practice is to become a conduit yourself, to become a channel essentially, because that's what you are. You are an embodiment and an extension of what we would call source energy, what some call God. And so my hope, and I think the hope of any spiritual instructor, would be to develop the connection between a person, to help them develop it, and whatever the powers that be, their eternal self, so that they can always access those states, so that they can consciously access the state of relief, so that they can consciously access the state of higher knowing and intuition. Now, if you continually use these medications as your doorway, the real threat that you have there is that you can no longer access it yourself, or it becomes more difficult because we become addicted to the extreme experience. That's what we got to understand about people, and especially about psychedelics. Is it an argument that psychedelics will blow you into the upper dimensions of the universe and wake you up? No, you can't even argue that. Like, we know that it does that. But the problem is what we watch when people come back down from that experience is that there's like a disparity that they experience between the day-to-day life and the spiritual experience that they had, which is so extreme. And so people start to chase the experience, and nothing else feels as much release. And nothing else feels as amazing. Nothing else feels as connected. And so do you blame people for just chasing the experience over and over again? No, but it's what happens. And it's a real worry for people in my particular position that want people to learn how to do this stuff without the tool, the external tool. That's a state of powerlessness. At a certain point, using any kind of spiritual medicine for your connection to Source or God is essentially something which is, I guess, a disability.
Mm.
And that's a state of powerlessness that I would not wish to foster in any human.
So you would actually extend that to the current massive trend to go down to South America and imbibe ayahuasca, which is a
Yes.
huge thing amongst a certain class of people in this country. Would you make the same parallel statements about that as a catalyst or a shamanic catalyst, that it simply ultimately can bring about dissociation from an organic connection with the universe?
Exactly, and it's not a very popular opinion that I hold on that because, I'm the kind of a teacher who doesn't judge people for their decisions with themselves. At some point, you have to say, ultimately, I can't know what is what is perfectly right for this person. So if they feel compelled to do it, then that is up to them to do what they wish with their life. But if you're going to ask me for that objective perspective, my objective perspective is that those particular plants, they came to the indigenous people at a point in time where our density, even as a human collective consciousness, was so much lower than where it is today, that it's in essence stepping backwards to go into the spiritual realms through that particular venue. And what we also have to understand is even in those particular traditions, they were aware of this particular pothole for spiritual practice. And so the shamans themselves would tell you, we take it 100, 300, 400 times, but we do this so that we can get to the point where the shaman no longer needs the medicine. The very best ones will walk in the tent with you, and they are instantly able to match wherever you are without even ingesting the substance. So what they're learning essentially to do is to tune their own personal frequency to the frequency of that dimension where people are having those experiences and journeys. Now, I would rather teach people to do that organically. Because do you see how, like, if I was just